All right, guys. Adrian has written a very fun, spooky, Halloween themed script, so get ready. Welcome, ghouls and ghosts, to Debate the News True Crime, live on Chatter Social. It's October, the witching season, and we're kicking off Halloween with a scream. I'm Joseph Labasco, ready to carve up the facts like a pumpkin. Joining me, stirring the cauldron of the paranormal, is Adrian Barker.
So I'm Adrienne. Grab your candy corn, yum yum. Light your jack-o'-lanterns and brace for the Halloween Fright Fest. We're talking the Amityville Horror, murder, demons, and a demonic pig that is really pure nightmare fuel. Debate the News True Crime Edition delves into real crimes and creepy legends, blending facts and fiery opinions with a Halloween twist. Tonight's Amityville Store covers graphic violence.
All right, we're going to start with the DeFeo Massacre in 1974. On November 13, 1974, in Amityville, New York, a quiet suburb where Halloween parties are the loudest thing around, the 112 Ocean Avenue, a stately Dutch colonial, the night turns horrific. Ronald DeFeo Jr., 23, grabs a .35 caliber Marlin rifle and executes his entire family in their beds, while 6 are shot in the head face down with no signs of a struggle. Neighbors hear nothing despite the high-powered rifle. The crime scene is grim, blood-soaked walls, bodies arranged like a twisted Halloween display. DeFeo flees to the bar and tries to claim that a mafia hit was responsible for his family's murder, but eventually by dawn he confesses that it was him. His story? He claims voices in the house drove him to kill. Police find he's deep in debt, hooked on drugs, and paranoid from family tensions over his dad's construction business.
The trial in 1975 is a spectacle. DeFeo pleads insanity, claiming demonic voices, but the prosecution paints him as a cold-blooded killer fueled by drugs and greed. Ballistics tie the rifle to him. No supernatural defense holds up. He is convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder, sentenced to life without parole. He dies in 2021, still hinting at otherworldly forces. It's a kind of October tale that makes you wonder, was it just a man unhinged or something darker? December 18th, 1975, the Lutz family haunting. George and Kathy Lutz, a young couple with 3 kids from Kathy's prior marriage, Daniel, Christopher, and Melissa. They purchased 112 Ocean Avenue for $80,000, and that's a bargain despite its bloody past. And they're optimistic. But from day one, that house, it felt like a Halloween nightmare. Doors slammed open, cold spots chill the air, and George, he hears phantom footsteps like ghosts pacing the halls. And by week 2, it's chaos. Swarm of flies in the winter, green slime oozing from keyholes, black sludge clogging toilets, and the kids, they report toys flying, invisible hands choking Daniel, and a red-eyed pig named Jody whispering telepathically from the upstairs window.
That is quite a story, Adrian. According to their story, told to author Jay Anson, it escalates fast. Father Picario, a priest, tries to bless the house but hears, quote, "get out" from an unseen voice, leaving with welts on his face, allegedly. The family claims levitation, beds, couches, even people. By January 14th, 1976, just 28 days after moving in, they flee with only their clothes. They contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, famed paranormal investigators, who visit and declare the house is a psychic maelstrom, and they cited demonic energy as a presence in the home. The Lutzes never return, and their tale becomes the backbone of Anson's 1977 book, The Amityville Horror, which went on to sell over 10 million copies. Daniel Lutz, in the 2012 doc My Amityville Horror, insists he saw demons, but skeptics tear it apart. DeFeo's lawyer admits in 1979 the Lutzes fabricated the haunting over wine to cash in on the controversy. The Lutzes were broke, unable to afford the mortgage. A Newsday 1976 investigation found that there was no evidence of slime or pigs. Father Picario denies any physical attacks, and the next owners, the Cromarties, lived there for 10 years, reporting no hauntings, but plenty of fan harassment. People stealing shingles from the house for souvenirs.
Still, Joseph, believers like me hold firm. The Warrens' photos and DeFeo's own demon claims keep the paranormal alive. The house's history, built in 1925, didn't have any prior hauntings, and that raised doubts. Was it trauma, suggestion, or a Halloween worthy scam? The 1977 book spawns a 1979 film, a box office smash, and the highest grossing indie of its time, and reboots follow, including a 2005 Ryan Reynolds remake. The franchise earns billions, cementing Amityville as a horror staple. And then the house sells in 2016 for $850,000. Remember, they bought it for $80,000. Current owners report no ghosts, just a quiet family home. And the rumors of a new Amazon film keep the legend alive. But the human cost, the murders, the lies, and a town forever is haunted by its name.
That's right, Adrian. It's the blueprint for the based on a true crime story horror premise, perfect for October chills. The house stands as a cultural ghost. Its windows are iconic, and DeFeo's crime was real. The haunting, likely not, but, we'll debate about that in a little bit. But the story's grip, fueled by our love for spooky tales, shows why we're drawn to the dark, especially at Halloween. The lingering questions: did something evil linger at 112 Ocean, or was it all a trick for the treat of fame? All right, Adrian, let's dig deeper with some questions to unravel this Halloween mystery. I'll start. So the DeFeo murders are factual. That was a real tragedy, a real homicide, 6 people dead, so no question about that. But DeFeo's voices claims ties to the Lutz's later haunting story. So they both claim they experienced similar things in the house. Do you think it's possible, or do any of you in the audience think it's possible, for a house to absorb trauma so intensely that it manifests as paranormal activity? What do you guys think?
With this particular story, I think that it could happen. Like, I know it's weird to say, but I think that it could happen.
I've seen it in person. I have to tell you that the energy itself, I feel that there is something there. If I had known that you were going to do this, I probably would have gone ahead and found someone to go with me to observe the property, but it looks like it is currently owned and being lived in. And they have changed the address, so it's not 112 anymore. It's now 108. But there is definitely some energy there, and that's the reason that if it was vacant, I would not go inside.
I think at the end of the day, either you believe or you don't, right? I've always believed, so I do believe the story of the Amityville Horror. I do think that a home can absorb energy, and I think that this is exactly what can happen, that the house absorbed the trauma. Of course, I did just see The Conjuring 2, which was amazing, and I love that movie, but I'm going to go with the answer of yes.
So I can't speak to the Amityville, that part, but what I can tell you is I do believe that there's a lot of energy. I visited the Pulse Memorial that they have, and I can tell you the back of the building where they have a lot of the stuff. I actually had to leave the back of the building because I could feel all the energy that was coming from it. I do really believe that there can be all those energies there, and it was just way too powerful for me, so I had to leave, and I could go to the side of the building because it wasn't as strong, but where the actual people were coming out and trying to leave through, the energy was so powerful that I couldn't stay.
Have you felt that way before, Debbie? Like, has that happened to you before?
Yeah, it actually does happen to me at funerals, which is why I no longer go to funerals. I can feel the energy of the person that has passed, and I choose not to go to funerals for that reason. But I've been to other places, and just the energy will just send me running because it's just too strong.
Interesting. Debbie, you had mentioned Pulse nightclub. For you and I being in the Orlando market at the time it took place, we know. But do you mind just sharing briefly what happened there?
Yeah, so there was a gentleman that went in there and he shot and killed, there was 49 people. and they were trying to get out through the bathrooms in the back and hiding. It was just horrible, horrible, horrible. The back of the building is where they were trying to escape from, and that's the part of the building where I could feel that energy. It really overwhelmed me. I started to tear up and I was like, I can't stand here anymore. I can't even be here. So I left the back of the building, but it was horrible.
So I definitely get what Debbie's saying about energy. I think especially if you're visiting this site of where you know a tragedy has occurred, sometimes you just get that weird, eerie vibe. And yeah, that can affect you. It can affect your mood. It can affect your actions. It can affect your behavior even. Everyone's different with how they're affected by stuff like that. I can definitely get on board with that. As far as the hauntings and the supernatural stuff, I just honestly don't believe in any of that. Like, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in demons. I don't think any of that's real. So I think that this person was probably just on drugs, probably had a mental health issue on top of it, and just went crazy. For me, I think it might just be that simple. But I think I'm in the minority in that. I think a lot of people do believe in a lot of this spooky stuff.
I wonder if believing has to do with actually experiencing. I wonder if that's the case, that maybe you just don't believe because you really haven't experienced it. And one point in your life, you may. Interesting. With that said, can we talk about the Warrens? So I am a believer in the Warrens. I'll tell you what happened. So in the early 80s, I was always fascinated. And yes, yes, I had a Ouija board. And yes, yes, we had a situation with the Ouija board, very, very scary. And I needed to know what to do with the Ouija board. And lo and behold, the Warrens were coming to Willimantic, Connecticut. So the Warrens are from Monroe, Connecticut, which is very close to New York. I was in college at the time in Willimantic called Eastern Connecticut State. And so so I was like, I gotta go. Who are these people? And I remember what they were showing us was very, very dark, very hard to see. And so I did something that don't normally do. And I actually waited for them. And I got to speak to her. So we were talking and she gave me some great information. And she says to me in her sweet voice that the Amityville Horror was going to be coming out. And here's my phone number if you need to talk to me about it. Because knowing me, I was probably very animated and very like worked up about it. And so a couple weeks later, Amityville Horror comes out and I pick up the phone and I talk to her. And she was so cool. We watched it. We called in the beginning and I told her I was watching it. And she said, okay, call me when it was over. We all called. I fell in love with this woman. She was amazing. So I followed her whole like story, never got to Monroe, which really makes me mad at myself. So I am a believer in the Warrens and what they have done. And I love the fact that the daughter married. And so they are now running it. So what do you guys think? Do you believe in the Warrens?
So I believe that they believe that they can talk to spirits, and I do think that they believe in some of that stuff. Do I believe they're actually communicating with otherworldly spirits like they do? No. But I'm open-minded in the sense that if you can show me evidence or prove it to me, tell me something or reveal something that you couldn't have possibly known, I'm open a little bit to that possibility. But on the surface, no. I don't think the Warrens are any more special than you or I. I think they're just good at putting on a show and making it convincing. And I think that they believe the things that are coming out of their mouth. So it feels genuine to other people.
Wow, but then they would be actually fake news. They would have, I mean, that is a big scam to run. I mean, let's just be honest and throw that out there. I do not believe that. I just want to say I am a real believer. And if you are part of the Warren family, call me. Let me give you my cell phone right now. Oh, I'll put it in the show notes. I am a believer, but they were hired out to do all of these talks and then all the movies. What do you guys think? I was calling out Joseph then, right? You're saying it could be a scam. I didn't even know there were 17 movies under the Amityville Horror brand. Did you guys know that?
Adrian, I grew up watching these movies. I remember this story from the movies. I'll just say that there are some times when I like feeling a little unstable in my skepticism, but there are also some times when I think that a real tragedy that happened was used or piggybacked off. I don't understand enough to dispute anything about energies that stay in homes. But I think that when you know the lineage and you are fascinated by it, I think there's always a way for someone to be able to claim that things are bigger than they are, different than they are. I don't know. I didn't go there. I haven't been in there. At some point, if the same thing that I put on the shelf kept falling off, I would have somebody come out and check the seismic activity of the neighborhood so that I understand what the hell was going on. But I need an explanation for things. If I can't find a scientific one and you have one that is theoretical, I might listen to it because I don't have one. But in this case, this is not one that makes me question my skepticism.
I love that, Lisa. And I have to say, I'm a little jealous too. I'm a little jealous because I start thinking of this. I watch the movie and I really get like, I'm scared because I believe I can't help myself. I think maybe deep down, that's why I never went. Well, I love hearing, Lisa, from someone like you that, like, I love that. I think it's important and we have to have the two sides of it. So let's go. Who's willing to say, are you a believer and a non believer?
I wouldn't say that I'm a believer or non-believer. I would say that I believe anything is absolutely possible. My mom growing up was very much involved in the spirit and spirituality and demons. And, I believe in God and I believe in angels. So if I believe in that, I feel like there is also the opposite of it, which is demons and the devil. And I believe that demons can possess people. I've seen the movie Annabelle and I watched all these horror movies and I like them, but I do think it is possible. I just don't know 100% for sure if it is.
That's why I'm a fan of Jessica's. Thank you, Jessica. That was great. I really appreciate your input. I also have to admit that when I was younger, I would look out the window and I was so deathly scared of Eddie Munster from the Munsters, like really frightened of him. And I would see him sometimes out my window just staring at me. It's so creepy. Anyways, I digress. Anyone else?
This is Gail.
Hi, Gail.
So I grew up right down there. I grew up 2 towns over in Lindenhurst. In fact, the hospital I was born in was in Amityville. And I was a kid when the murders happened. Quite a story. I can also say that my sister-in-law went to high school with Ron, and he was known to be quite a bully. It wasn't one of those cases where, oh, he was a nice kid, you never would have thought, but he was really a bully. And after the murders happened, and before the Lutzes moved in, the house was a popular place for some of us to do drive-bys. Because even before we thought it was spooky, it was a spooky house because that happened in the house. And the way it looked, I don't know if you're familiar with the windows on the side that kind of look like eyes. They have since redone it, so it doesn't look like that anymore. But it was always known to have that creepy feeling because of what happened there. But I don't know if I believe in spirits or anything like that, but it was a creepy house because of what happened.
Yeah, thank you for that story. That's interesting. So, in this particular case, Ed and Lorraine did not remove what was ever taking place, the alleged haunting. They didn't actually remove it. The Lutz family fled the house after only 28 days and leaving all their possessions behind, which is really rare. And, they also didn't have a lot of money. And at the time, the reason why they even stayed 28 days is because they really had no place to go. And so now I thought it was interesting, Joseph, that the lawyer later claimed the Lutzes invented the story, but I don't believe that either. And I just can't believe that anyone would go as the length of doing something like that to maintain their version of the events.
The Warrens, I will say, I think it's very interesting that it seems like every time someone calls the Warrens to investigate something potentially paranormal, they always find something. I think that's interesting. Like, haven't there ever been times where just someone who's nuts calls them and they don't think that there's any supernatural presence? It seems like anytime they're called, they always seem to find something.
Oh, well, wait a second. Wait a second. If I had water damage and I always call to say it's rainy and I got water damage, wouldn't that make sense? And then they come in and they're like, dang, every time Adrian calls and says there's water damage. Because I know at one point they were very, very busy. What if you don't believe? but something really crazy is going on. Don't the Warrens then serve as a purpose of like a therapist? I just fell in love with her. She seemed and acted very interested in what I was saying, and that all kind of makes sense to me. Ah,
I mean, look, Adrian, I'm not a believer, but there's still that tiny fragment of a percentage that I'm open. So if the Warrens were speaking at an event, or I think they have like a allegedly haunted museum, I would definitely go. I think that's interesting and entertaining, and maybe I would see something that would change my mind. But I just take the position with all this stuff that unless you can show me some hard evidence, not some weird device that you say is communicating with spirits, not a blurry picture of an orb, something really concrete that is unexplainable, that is what would open my mind up a little bit more.
I was crazy when my mom passed away. We were down towards the ocean, and I was doing a video of my daughter, and she was, sounds weird, but she was young, so she was dancing. She didn't really understand. And I mentioned, oh, if grandma was only here, and all of a sudden the orb started flying like crazy. And I will tell you that we have an art gallery. And at the time, the girl that was working there when my mom passed away, I go in to help, and she's like, do you believe in spirits? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And she's like, your mom's still in the back room. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then the day after my dad passed away, all the artwork that my mom did not like that they had argued about in this gallery was put on the floor and laid in such a way that the staff knew immediately. I looked at the footage and I was like, oh my God, no question. Literally, I have this, Joseph, too. I can send it to you. You could actually see the artwork like being pulled up off the hanger off the wall and then dropped, but then didn't break. I'm telling you, it is crazy how my mind works and what I believe. And I don't really talk about it. Debbie, take the mic.
So after my mom passed away, we were in the living room in my house and we were talking about my mom, and my daughter started dancing around. And I'll have to find the video, but throughout the entire video of her dancing around, there's this orb just kind of following her.
See?
I wanted to share that I've definitely seen orbs. If I'm taking pictures, I can see them. Or, whenever I see butterflies or ladybugs, those are like the signs for my sister being by my side type of thing. So I don't know. I believe in these types of things. I'm listening to Joseph and his a little bit of skepticism, but yet he's open. This has been an interesting conversation for sure.
Thank you, Danielle. I really want to hear more from each of you as far as what your thoughts are. So, where does Halloween fall as far as a favorite for your holiday?
So, I mean, Halloween is my favorite holiday, but for me, it's more of a game that I played with my children. It's a time to dress up, talk to your neighbors, decorate, and do fun things, but it's all pretend. None of it seems real to me from that theatrical side. There are things that I believe in that are outside of the physical that I actually feel quite comfortable with my beliefs in that area. But the spooky stuff, I've been watching it so long since the original Halloween, since the original Friday the 13th. I've seen it through so many different layers of Hollywood sets and production and all of that, that it all just seems made up.
You know what? I have a wish, though, on this Halloween season. For everyone listening, do something different. Buy Dubai chocolate and give all the kids Dubai chocolate.
My lights are going out, is all I have to say. If the porch light is off, there's no tactics, right?
What
Yeah,
are you gonna do?
Adrian, I always get the best Halloween candy. I usually only have like 12 trick-or-treaters, and I do just leave the porch light on with a table outside, but I find like Crunch Bars or certain like Reese's, like I try to find the cool candy.
I love that.
Yeah.
When we first moved to Celebration, Florida, the town that Disney built, people would come in from all over because they were handing out like the full candy bars. And so all those little snap ones were frowned upon. So people would come from all over and clog the streets of Celebration to get the full bars.
Depending on what part of my neighborhood you go into, you either get the full candy bars. There's one part of my neighborhood that completely shuts the block down, and the trick-or-treaters can go get food and everything, and the adults can get adult beverages. They have the candy for the kids and the shots for the parents. It just depends on what area in my neighborhood you're in.
You know what? Maybe we'll do a giveaway because I always do have so much extra Halloween candy. And every Halloween, I think I gain 5 pounds that I have to lose throughout the rest of the year because I'm like, oh, it's just like a small snack size Reese's. And then 20 Reese's later, I've gained 15 pounds. So maybe we'll do a giveaway around the middle of the month and we'll send a big thing of a Halloween candy to one of our listeners. So I'll figure that out. So it looks like that is the final scream for tonight's Debate the News True Crime Edition episode. We ripped open the Amityville Horror from the DeFeo murder's bloody truth to the Lutz's family's haunting tale, fact, fiction, or Halloween magic. To our live crew on Chatter Social and podcast listeners carving pumpkins this October, thanks for joining us for this spooky kickoff October Halloween episode. Subscribe to the podcast, drop those 5-star reviews if you're enjoying it.
Joseph, I'd like to just say, please, please be sure to give out the most delicious chocolate and candy. Don't do what my father did and gave out Pokemon cards because even though the kids liked them, they wanted the chocolate more. So anyways, I'm Adrian Barker.
And I'm Joseph Labasco. We will see you next week and every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the entire month of October with a new spooky case. Good night, everyone.